Known to family and friends as Gentle Giant, they say George never made an enemy.
But once we saw each other, the first question we asked, who your daddy? Who your daddy? and it went from there. We always hung together. Every time I went to Houston, it was my first stop to stop and pick him up and see what he was.
George Perry Floyd was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina on October 14th, 1973. But Houston's 3rd Ward was his home. Out of the 5 kids in his family, he was lucky number 3. His siblings often described how strong of a bond he had with each of them, especially Mom.
He was a big mama's boy. I would see him every day, and I'd say, Perry. I'd say Perry because we called him Perry instead of George. And he would always say, hold on, let me kiss Mama before I come over there.
He stood 6 feet, 6 inches tall, making his rise to star tight end at Jack Yates High School in Houston an expected one. He played in the 1992 state championship game in the Houston Astrodome, a hometown staple. The only thing that rivaled his passion for football was his passion for basketball. His love of sports became a common thread throughout his life.
I would be calling around trying to get contracts with the different schools, and the coaches would ask me, who's your big man? And I would say, George Floyd. They say, oh, you got Big Floyd. Okay, well, your team must be pretty good.
In the 90s, Floyd tried his hand at rapping. He went by the name Big Floyd and dropped on tracks with Houston's DJ Screw and the hip-hop group Screwed Up Click for songs on the Chapter 220 Player Memories mixtape. And I will admit, the tracks are not bad.
It's that Big Floyd living large in that game. Only I put fame on my name.
Floyd also had his struggles. In 2007, he was charged with armed robbery in connection with the home invasion. He spent 5 years in prison as part of a plea deal. After his release, friends say Floyd became an anti-violence advocate.
People get it. And when I say it, I mean, life and understanding their path and where they need to go. They get it at different times. George was beginning to get it, He was working on getting it together. He might have used some drugs. He was trying to stop doing that. He was moving forward. He had moved to Minnesota from his home to build a better life, and he was starting to get it.
In 2014, he moved to Minnesota where he worked as a truck driver and security guard. But he got laid off in 2020 when Minnesota shut down restaurants during the pandemic. But he didn't only lose his job. Like millions of others, Floyd wouldn't survive the COVID-19 pandemic, but not because of the COVID-19 virus.
To have your life taken from you in a place where you feel like, I'm starting to get it and I'm moving there to get it together is just sad.
Like so many other Black women and men, an encounter with a police officer cut his life short. Now, because George Floyd met Derek Chauvin, his life story changed.
These people will never get to write the end of their story. You'll never see the redemption part of it. You're only going to see, the struggle and then death. And it's not fair because he was a young person and he had a whole bunch of time that he should have been here to be able to write that part of his story.
George Floyd was an athlete, a friend, a brother, a mentor, and a human. While he's no longer on this earth with us, his impact is still being felt, and his legacy is one we'll all continue to carry on.